It is afternoon. Well done. We've made it through the first bit of World of Learning Summit 2024. Agile learning was a popular topic when we did the survey around this stuff, and I think one of the reasons for its popularity is for the opportunity to demystify it. We know there are people out there who will tell us that agile learning means whatever it is that they want to mean, or more importantly, whatever it is they want to sell. Let's be honest. So it's good to have some practitioners, some people who do this stuff, who work in the field on a regular basis. Palo has experience as senior leading role in both Kantar and in Meta, which, we all know who they are. Eric has had a series of senior roles within everything from LV to Specsavers to high street names and all the rest of it, and has set up her own business and runs the AI for the Honest Joe podcast and a whole host of other stuff, which is fantastic. So, join me in welcoming Palo and Erica to talk about agile learning for the next 35 minutes or so. Welcome.
Okay. Great. Ready to go?
Dancing their couple's choice, Rose Ayling-Ellis and Giovanni Panice.
I've been hearing symphonies. Before all I heard was silence. A rhapsody for you and me. And every melody is timeless. Now your song is on repeat. I'm dancing on to your heartbeat. And when you're gone, I feel incomplete. If you want the truth, I just wanna be part of your symphony. You have me tied and I let go. Symphony. Last time on the radio. You have me tied and I let go. And when you're gone, so if you want the truth, I just wanna be part of your symphony. You have me tied and I let go. Symphony. Last time on the radio. You have me tied and I let go.
I love you. Hey. Well, hello Olympia. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Erica and I, or this afternoon even. Erica and I are delighted to be sharing some insights around agile methodology and agile learning. So let me start by introducing myself and Erica. So I'm Palo. I've been in learning for about the best part of 20 years. I started my career off in the commercial sector, selling tech into pharmacy, where I trained pharmacists, GPs and hospital pharmacists in technology. That is where I got my passion for learning and the value it adds to business, and also got a passion for how technology is an enabler for business. Since then, I have worked in a number of different industries, not the same industry twice, and in that time I've had the pleasure and privilege of working internationally across Latin America, Asia, Europe and the UK. I've then kind of that experience of working internationally has really allowed me the opportunity to bring that diverse experience into working with organisations to build agile strategies for companies such as United Business Media, Kantar, Discovery, and more recently Meta. So given we're in the vein of talking about agile, Eric and I wanted to share a little bit about ourselves, about a little bit of our own agile journey. So we've got some personal stories to share. So my story is, when I was a child, I suffered terribly with epilepsy. And as you can imagine, growing up in a single family Punjabi household, my mother wrapped me up in cotton wool, and I wasn't allowed to learn to swim, go a bike, all the usual stuff that kids my age were doing. Her only worry was, my goodness, am I going to find a boy for Palo tomorrow with her epilepsy? Anyway, fast forward to my 30s, I did eventually grow out of epilepsy, and I embarked on whitewater rafting for 10 nights and 10 days around the Sunkosi River in Nepal. And here I am to tell the tale. So in terms of personal agility, that's a little story from me. So I'll pass on to Erica to do her intros.
Thanks, Paolo. Hi, everyone. Erica Farmer, Quantum Rise Talent Group. It's fantastic to be here today and share the stage with Paolo. As the kind intro says, I've been involved in learning and development for over 20 years now with some of the UK's largest brands. Some agile, LV, some not so agile, cough, cough, British Gas. Sorry if there's any British Gas customers here in the room, it's not my fault. So I guess the one thing that you wouldn't know about me just by looking at me is I was lucky enough to have England football trials when I was 20 at university. I captained the university football team. I didn't make it into the England team, unfortunately. I don't know if I'd be stood here talking about agile learning if that was the case today. But learning how to perform at the top level, particularly in organisations, whether that's sports clubs or the companies that you work with or for, defines a certain mindset and a certain skill set, and that's the requirement, and that's some of the things we're going to talk about today. So Palo's going to talk about her extensive experience in that organisational area and sector, and then I'm going to start to whittle that down into terms of skills and mindset and enable you to understand what that is to take away from today's session. Is that all right with everybody?
Cool.
Brill. Okay, Palo,
Thanks,
back to you.
Erica. Okay, so implementing an agile learning strategy. So I suppose one of the things is, whatever sector you're in, whether you're in charity, whether you're in the NHS, whether you're in financial services, retail, whatever industry you're operating in, the business landscape has changed, and I'm sure you've all experienced it. We're going through a tremendous amount of change, a tremendous amount of crises, a tremendous amount of complexity, and that in itself creates a really challenging landscape to navigate. And a lot of this has been brought through transformation. So I'm sure every person in this room is working in an organisation where there's some kind of transformation going on, whether that's a restructure, whether that's a cultural change, whether it's a technical change. But there's some major transformation going on. And I'm sure some of you are actually dealing with a number of transformations at the same time. So what does that mean for us guys as learning professionals? As learning professionals, we really need to start thinking about how we develop our agile mindset to actually deal with the complexities, and how we think about our learning value proposition so that it is agile and is able to, and you're able to adapt and change your tack in terms of what you're doing in your learning proposition. And also, given the situation, the cultural situation we're all in, I think it's one of the most important times to really partner with your HR folk. If you want to go down the road of agile methodology, this is with people that you really need to engage with and partner with and collaborate with, because learning and talent development, you just can't stand alone. So let's have a wee look at the role of a modern L&D function. So this model is taken from Nick Van Dam, who's a consultant at McKinsey. And it's a model that's been around for a number of years and has been evolving over time. So with learning and talent development being at the centre, I mean, traditionally our function is about making sure that we are held responsible for the development of people aligned to the business strategy. But actually, we've got a big role to play in all these priorities that businesses are dealing with. When it comes to attracting and retaining talent, historically we've always been based on building productivity and efficiency, but actually it's now about employability. We need to make sure that folk in our business are employable, they have the skills to add value. If you just think about how organisations are attracting talent, there's a bunch of organisations that only work on they bring consultants in and then they kind of let them go. So as long as the value has been added from the skill set that individual brings. And also, we've now moved away from a job for life. A job for life is not something that people aspire to. They want change, they want to move around in their organisations. And then when it comes to motivating and engaging employees, well, learning is the most important and most valuable way to engage with your employees. And also, one of our responsibilities is about creating career pathways. So whatever career profession or career pathway somebody's chosen, it's for us to make sure that we create the opportunities and the spaces for them to continue to develop and stay engaged with the organisation. Building an employer brand. So, your brand is your biggest asset in organisation. And to cultivate a fabulous learning and development value proposition only enhances that reputation and the success of the business. And then finally, creating a values-based culture. We've got so many different demographics in the world of work at the moment. You've got your Gen Z, you've got your baby boomers that are kind of leaving the world of work. You've got your Zoomers now coming in. So it's kind of, how do you build a values-based culture that appeals to all those different demographics? So you'll see that businesses are, promoting their ESG, their CSR, whatever you want to call it, but it's about making sure that your employees feel connected with the organisation they're operating with. And then when we come back to what we're used to being known for, developing people capabilities. So we're working in a world of work, we're working in an environment where skills, there's a skills shortage in the UK, we've probably read all about that, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we have a steady investment in learning and talent development. The minute that stops, you're not creating the opportunities for people to really flourish and develop their careers and their skills. And once the decline in that happens, the value of the workforce in your organisation also declines. So something to think about in terms of when you're building out your learning value proposition. And as we were talking about skills, I just wanted to touch on agile strategy and learning agility. So whatever paper you've read in the past few years, whether it's McKinsey, whether it's Gartner, whether it's Fosway, HBR, they all promote learning agility as being the number one trait that we want folk to have and to develop. So this is about reskilling and upskilling, but more importantly for me, it's about dumping those skills that no longer add value to what you're trying to achieve in your career and in your professional development. So if you just look at how, software developers, they're forever learning new skills and gaining new knowledge to produce the products they're developing. And equally, if you look at how surgeons have changed their career pathways, they can do surgery using AI now. So it's making sure that you have that curiosity, that desire to continuously learn so that adds value. And when you now think about agile strategy, if you look back at all the different complexities that we have to deal with as learning professionals, having a strategy that's agile is something that sometimes can feel quite difficult and quite hard to do because you've got all these different elements that you're having to deal with, priorities. But actually, what you will find, you've actually just been through that. So we've just come through the pandemic, we're out the other side. So we had to pivot, we had to change our mindsets, we had to learn new skills. I think overnight most folk in learning learned how to use Zoom, learned how to use Teams really professionally. We built our skills in developing programs online. And actually, in some ways, it accelerated that for L&D. You know, for a long time, we've been trying to get people to learn digitally, and here it kind of falls in our lap. But for me, I believe that the pandemic was almost like inadvertently the biggest world of work experiment that you could have go. It just turned out to be the real deal. It wasn't something that wasn't planned, and we reacted really well to it. But now, you know, we're coming out the other end of it. We've been through it, but the landscape has kind of changed. So all these priorities that kind of have an impact on our learning and talent development strategies. So DEI and B has become so much more in focus. And in terms of the products and services that we deliver within the business, we need to make sure that our learning products are aligned to your DEI policy. Digital transformation. So AI is all over this world of learning event. So we really need to upskill. The keynote earlier on was talking about AI and how we as learning and professionals really need to upskill and make sure that we know how to take advantage of AI in particular. Bringing your whole self to work. You know, we want folk to bring their whole selves to work, so how do our learning interventions align to that? Hybrid working. So hybrid working, we're still discussing and debating what that means. Businesses are trying to get most folk back into the office. But what the pandemic has shown is that we were super productive during the pandemic. I mean, there was nothing else to do but work. But, you know, it's a case of how do we negotiate what that hybrid working is going to look like? Ownership of your learning and your career. So making sure that people, you know, we're not spoon-feeding folk, making people responsible for their own careers. And then that human-centric design in terms of how we make sure that what we're designing is key to what people need when they need it, you know, how they want to learn. And I suppose doing more with less and working at pace. And this actually feeds into working in it with an agile methodology. And I think, Erica, you wanted to bring in a case study of your own.
Yeah, so thanks, Palo. So during my time at British Gas, I worked on the customer service apprenticeship. We worked really close with customer operations, and every senior operations team meeting I went to, all I heard the SMT talk about was agent of the future. And they had this vision of this person who could either work from the Home Office or any of the British Gas offices, and they were multi-skilled, so you as a customer just needed to ring one phone line and they could deal with your complaint or your payment or your change of your tariff or whatever it was. And I probably heard that vision talked about for about 3.5 years. And as much as people were excited about it, it often landed in the too difficult box. How are we going to set people up to work from home? What kind of kit are we going to have to get in people's homes? How are they going to pay for that kit or look after that kit? How are we going to train people when they're working from home and then going into the office and not going into the office? And surprise, surprise, everything suddenly goes into the easier box when we find ourselves in a global pandemic. And very quickly, British Gas had an agent of the future who was working from home, had all the kit, had the tables and chairs, and were taking multi-channel calls from lots of different customers. So from a mindset perspective, it's easy for us to put things in the too difficult box until we go into that urgent, important space, which actually gives us a bit of a kick up the backside and shows us that we can do something. And AI is quite interesting at the moment because for a lot of people, it's sitting in the do not touch box, the too difficult box. But as Palo says, we don't want a global pandemic to be able to move that into the urgent, important box as well. So this is why agile mindset is so important.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Erica. So Erica shared a bit of a user case of her experience, so let me share one of mine. So I don't know how many people know about Kantar, but Kantar are a global data insight consultancy. They're part of WPP, who are a ginormous machine of advertising agencies and media. So Kantar, 35,000 employees globally across 5 continents. I joined the Centre of Expertise, which the business had just gone through a big major structural transformation, where all the learning and development directors' roles were brought into the Centre of Expertise. So I was dealing with a load of businesses, load of divisions that had a huge strength of loss at their learning function to come into the COE. The culture at Kantar was quite traditional, a bit clunky, very hierarchical, not hugely diverse. I would have expected it to be more diverse given I was working with a data insight and consulting firm. But they were going through transformation. And the Centre of Expertise, there was an expectation of, oh my goodness, how is the Centre of Expertise going to demonstrate their credibility and their value? So one of the things that the senior leadership had made it quite clear and were very vocal about was we had a bunch of different types of management development offerings kind of scattered across the globe. It's quite disparate, it wasn't joined up, and we needed to build something that actually created a consistent approach to management development across the business, across all the divisions. And that was kind of one of the key things that we were going to build. One of the things that we had in our team was I was new to the team and another colleague was new, and she'd come from Sky. And she talked about how at Sky they'd used agile methodology to really transform their learning function. And as she talked about it as a team, there was 12 of us on the team, 12 consultants globally, we became really passionate about it, and we thought, right, actually, we're part of the Centre of Expertise. This is our opportunity to really shine and actually really make a change to the way that we work within Kantar. And we got the buy-in from our global head, who was based in Singapore, and she basically said, look, if you can convince the business, yes, let's go ahead with it. So that's what we did. So now talking about agile methodology as opposed to agile mindset. So implementing an agile strategy. So these are the 3 key audiences that you need to influence. And this is where, as a learning partner, this is where you have to leverage your consulting skills, your trusted advisor role that you play, your influencing skills. And let me tell you, this is a hard sell. This is not a walk in the park. This is where, if you're working with a traditional business with quite an old-fashioned mindset, it's really challenging to do this. This is where you'll spend most of your time if you're going to go down the road of trying to evolve into an agile methodology approach to your design. So the first thing we did as a team, we all read Scrum, The Art of Doing More, Twice the Work in Half the Time by Jeff Sutherland. If you've not come across this book, I would highly recommend it. It actually talks about how agile methodology, which originates in the software development world, how it works in terms of building what's called a MVP, a minimum value proposition, product even, minimal viable product, and then working in a really fast and iterative way to build out the product that you want to promote. Working quite closely with your customer, so you have a product, you see your learning and development interventions as products, and obviously your clients as customers. So on one hand you had your sponsor, so you've got to also go where the appetite is. So the appetite for us was with a senior director who worked for one of the smaller divisions. And once he got interested in what we were talking about, we got him to read the book, and he was on board. And another side of the horizon, it's your HR business partners. So we managed to get into their meetings and got them to read the book and sold what working in it with agile methodology meant. And they were really excited. In turn, it meant that when it came to influencing your key stakeholders and your business leaders, it became easier because these 2 groups were already talking about agile methodology and what it would look like. So at the time, we actually got some funding from our global head in Singapore, and we managed to get a lady called Natal Dank, who went on to write this book called Agile HR after we'd gone into using agile methodology at Kantar. But getting people to think in a different way was a hard sell. So if you as I say, if you do want to go into it, definitely do it. It is really worth it. And this is just an example of how we kind of, I think about agile methodology as being a process. So one of the things that you start with is a problem statement. So your problem statement is, what is the big thing that you're trying to what's the problem you're trying to solve, and where do you want to add value? So for us, it was a case of, we've got this learning and development fundamentals program that we need to build that needs to be aligned to all the businesses across the globe, and we need to get buy-in. So user stories are just what your customer wants. So if you think about it being a product, what does your customer want from your management development program? So these are, what do they want from the feedback module? What do they want from the performance management module? What do they want from the team leadership model? So your user stories are just what your customer wants. And then when you think about backlog and Kanban boards, so you might have heard those terms. Some of you might be using Slack, or you might be using Teams as a platform. But your backlog is just all the tasks that you need to get done, tasks that sit in your notebooks, the tasks that you've got hidden away somewhere. You get all your tasks as a team and you put them on a big wall, and then you start to prioritise them. And that's when you ruthlessly prioritise. You discuss and debate what's most important, what to do first, what to do second, etc. So some of the roles, your Scrum Master and your Product Owner. Your Scrum Master is like your facilitator, and this is the person that facilitates the sprinting session. So we worked in a 2-week sprint, and this is the person that speaks to your sponsor, keeps your sponsor updated, and also then feeds back if there's any blockages in terms of what you need. Time boxing is a great tool. It really focuses the mind, so it allows you to work really fast and iteratively. Two of the things that I really enjoy is your daily stand-up and your retrospective. Your daily stand-up is what you're going to do today. So your daily stand-up is what you're going to do today, what did you do yesterday, and if there's any blockages. Very fast, and then your retrospective is the opposite of that. What did you do today, what the blockages, and what do you need to do going forward? In terms of a human-centric design, personas really helped us. So personas are fictitious profiles of people in your business, which highlight their frustrations, their goals, their needs, and their attributes, and a little bit of a profile in terms of who they are. So if you think about a bunch of different personas, that as you develop your product, you get a real sense of who your customers are. And the one thing that this process, this way of working really helped us was to experiment. So we used Workplace at Kantar, which is Facebook for work. And we had a bunch of groups on their international manager groups, and we would build something and post it out to them and say, what do you think to this? And you'd get that instant feedback from your customer. So basically, when you're working in a global team that we were, everyone touches this product, has a handle in it, is really inclusive in the way that you design a product, and you get that immediate feedback from your end user, your customer. So this product is not going to fail. You know how in the past, you produce a product and you're like, oh my goodness, this is no longer fit for purpose. So it's a really energetic and pacey way of working. And I would certainly recommend it if you are thinking about it. But it's definitely, for me, I would encourage everyone to try it. This was a 2-week sprint. And in that 2-week sprint, this is what we achieved. We achieved a tailored management development program for our new managers and for managers who wanted a refresher. This was a program that was really aligned to our values and who we were as a business. It included this thing called Flourish at Kantar, which was a new tool that we wanted to introduce for our managers. So wherever you were in the business, every manager was going through the same content, but it was adapted to the markets that they were in. And my biggest takeaway when I was working in this global team was the buzz and paciness. So we would start off a piece of work from our backlog, and we start creating and iterating, and then we'd pass it on to the team in the US and South America. They would then hand over to Asia Pac, and then the next day we'd turn up. And the amount of work that was done to produce, workbooks, session plans, videos, all in a 2-week time time frame. It was incredible, really pacey. Everybody, was proud of the work that you were going to do. And also when it comes to piloting, because everyone's had a handle in it, it's less likely to fail, and to implement was much easier. So that's my little story on working in an agile way with Kantar, and I'm going to hand over to Erica.
Palo, thank you so much. So if you think about traditionally, I don't know about you, but when I've been in L&D functions and you get the steer or you identify the need for a management development program, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks, and that's the scoping and the consulting, and then it goes into design and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. Where actually, if we can build this within 2 weeks, and it's not just the mindset, as Palo's talked about, it's the skill set that goes with this. And I talk about this quite a lot on my LinkedIn Learning program, because it's important to recognize that the trait of learning agility is a skill set and a mindset. And the World Economic Forum says that in the next 3 to 5 years, there's 3 traits that are going to be super important for us to be hyper collaborative, which is what Palo's just talked about, but also maintain or drive that competitive edge in our organisation. Learning agility being one, positive resilience being the other, and grounded optimism being the third. So you can see what we've been in, why that would come through, and I'm sure you can see variances on those on the different papers that we read. But the strategy is all about how do you ensure your organisation is developing and being its best in such an uncertain environment. And we know things are going to get more uncertain. Geopolitical changes that we're seeing and hearing in the press and the media pretty much every day at the moment. It's important that our leaders and our managers don't just keep up with change, but they are those change agents, and they are those people that can demonstrate this trait of learning agility within the teams that you're working with. What does your leader do? What do you do as a leader or a manager within these functions? We're in this tech-centric environment, which is going to get more and more immersive as we start to really get to grips over the next kind of 12 to 18 months with whatever prompt engineering is going to become, and AI and all the rest of it. So the underpinning skills are something that we need to understand and demonstrate as L&D practitioners. But who's seen this before? We've got to put on our own oxygen masks, when you get on the plane, and that's the thing that you hear, before helping others to put on theirs. And that's the thing I want you to take away from this part of the session, is this isn't just about management development. This isn't just a strategy that we're going to hear from other people. This is about us as practitioners making this live and living and breathing. So, imagine this. You manage a top-performing team in the organisation that you work for. Other managers and leaders come to you to understand, how do you do it? How do you manage this top-performing team? You tell them the secret is their ability to pick up new ideas and implement them straight away. No matter what the specialism, with pace and enthusiasm. Could you even just imagine that? Your performance scores are always there, and the team are always rewarded, not just for the output, but their attitude. Can you just imagine being that manager? We want every manager to be like that, right? We want every manager to be that top-performing manager. When asked what's needed to be able to conduct this magic, you share 3 things. You explain that the team are confident in their ability to try something new. So they don't feel like they're going to get reprimanded in picking up a new skill, in going and finding something different, in trying out Scrum, understanding what it could look like if they try to do something different compared to what they normally do, and they feel confident in their ability that they're going to be supported to do that. Positive, they will achieve the optimum outcome, even if they have to try it several times to get there. That kind of test and learn methodology, that way of thinking, that continuous improvement. And Paolo talked about earlier, a lot of this comes from the kind of project management tech world, where there's a lot of thinking and understanding just how that's how we do things around here. And for us as L&D practitioners, we've got such an opportunity to change our own culture and ways of doing things. And the most important one, being comfortable in making mistakes, failing fast without fear of embarrassment or being reprimanded or concerned, i.e. psychological safety. So you read all those things, and I don't know about you, but I look at those kind of breakdown, those sub-traits, and I think, well, that's all very well, but what does that look like in practice? What do we need to do to support our teams and our stakeholders to develop these sub-traits? And a lot of it sits with us in our role modelling and our demonstrating. A lot of it sits within the culture of understanding what that is. But you can stay and do what you always do. And I think, the kind of dinosaur analogy fits quite nicely there. Or you can try something different and see what kind of response you get. And if you're going to try something different, I would really advise you, if you're looking at agile, looking at mindset and learning agility, these are the things that you need to start thinking about to create a new culture. In terms of tasks and takeaways, these are some of the things you can do to make that happen. So be that internal consultant and share this kind of learning that we've talked about today. So share your learning experiences when you've tried something new. And when I say that, it's not just L&D consulting, it's consulting with your operational stakeholders, your SMT, your HR stakeholders, your high-performing stakeholders, and really get them into a space to understand what was the benefit of why you did what you did and what was the outcome. Because it's great to learn from our own mistakes, but learning from other people's is even more valuable. Add value with those non-L&D updates. So, share what's happening in other parts of the business and where they're trying new things in terms of an agile way and what kind of outcomes they got. And be that straight talker. Particularly in L&D, we can be a little bit around the houses sometimes. We love to communicate in general, but sometimes we'll use quite a few words when we can just get straight to the point, and don't be afraid of that. And a lot of the research is starting to say that actually that clear communication is going to be even more important in organisation when we really are partnering with tech and digital. Just-in-time learning, so that's a real agile methodology. So make that happen. When I'm a manager, I'm going to go and have that difficult conversation. I might want to access some micro-learning then and there, half an hour before I go and have that conversation, rather than 12 weeks before when you put me through a 4-week management development program. Process and blend, so always trying those different things and using the Scrum process to blend in different types of learning when you're building. And have short, punchy skills practice that's going to enable people to put those brand new skills into practice and drop those skills that they don't need anymore. So, I'm going to leave you on the video again. And shall we talk about why before we play it?
Yeah. So, that video that we showed at the top of the session, you must have thought, what's that all about? So we wanted to think about an analogy that demonstrates the value of agile. So if you think about dancers, they're agile and they're nimble and they correct themselves when they go wrong, but we probably don't notice it because we're not dancers. But we use this also to think about agile methodology. So if you think about when they won Strictly, Rose and
Giovanni.
So the product is a dance. The customer is us, the audience, and the judges. Their problem statement is, we need to get through to next week because we want to win this thing. And then when you think about all the backlog and the tasks, it's about learning new dances and new steps. And then the whole piece around inclusion and diversity, Rose brought her own personal story to this dance. which really resonated with us as audiences, and we voted for them. So it's a really great analogy. You know, if you find it a bit dry, I always think, well, what can you think about that makes it a bit more creative?
Yep.
Anything
Great.
else you want to add?
And just being hard of hearing, being deaf, and then dancing at such a high level in silence, in time. I mean, think about kind of your agile methodology, the skills needed, and putting down skills and learning new skills and your mindset. Just to be able to do that is just incredible. So we're going to leave you with the video today. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope that's added lots of value, and come and see us if you've got any questions or queries.
Dancing their couple's choice. Rose Ayling-Ellis and Giovanni Panice.
I've been hearing symphonies before all I heard was silence. A rhapsody